What if the most dangerous secret of the American Civil War was not carried by a general, not written by a president, but hidden inside the memory of a forgotten woman who was never meant to survive? And what if that secret was buried under the very city that calls itself the capital of freedom? In the spring of 1861, as the United States fractured into North and South, Washington, D.C. was like a trembling heart surrounded by knives. The city was unprepared for war. Buildings meant for governance now echoed with panic. Roads were filled with soldiers and wagons, whispers and warnings. The war had not yet consumed the nation, but its shadow had already arrived. In a narrow brick house a few blocks from the Capitol lived a young woman named Eleanor Whitmore. She was only 22 years old, but her mind was sharper than many men twice her age. Her father had been a cartographer, secretly helping the government map unknown territories in the West before he died. Her mother had been a teacher. Eleanor had been raised on paper, ink, and silent observation. To the outside world, she was simply a clerk in the War Department, copying letters, organizing stacks of documentation, delivering routine files, invisible, unimportant, perfect. What no one, except one dying man, knew was that Eleanor had an extraordinary memory. Once she read a page, she never forgot it. Once she saw a map, its lines burned into her mind forever. Her father had discovered it when she was a child. He had warned her to never reveal this gift. In a world ruled by men with power, knowledge like hers would make her dangerous. And in the spring of 1861, danger became her daily companion. One rainy afternoon, she was called to a small secured room in the War Department. Inside waited Colonel Thomas Greer, a man known for his loyalty to Abraham Lincoln and his absolute secrecy. The walls were bare. There were no windows, only a table. A single document lay on it. He did not greet her. He only said, "Read this. Do not copy it, do not mention it, and do not forget it." Eleanor's eyes moved slowly over the page. It was not a battle plan. It was a list of names, locations, dates, underground meeting areas, and strange symbols drawn in the margins. At the top of the page was scrawled in harsh ink, "The Sons of Ash." Beneath the name were dozens of American citizens living in Washington and beyond, including senators, businessmen, military officials, and men who publicly claimed loyalty to the Union. They were, according to the document, part of an invisible network working secretly to destroy the Union from within. Sabotage, assassination, strategic betrayal, planned chaos.
At the bottom of the page was a paragraph that made Eleanor's skin freeze. "If this list is compromised, the nation will never heal. If it is lost, the nation will never survive." Eleanor looked up at the colonel. "Why am I seeing this?" she whispered. "Because," he said, his eyes heavy and exhausted, "by tomorrow morning I will be dead." 2 days later, Colonel Thomas Greer was found in the Potomac River, officially ruled an accident, unofficially whispered about in the corridors of power as a warning. The document disappeared, but its every word remained alive inside Eleanor's mind. From that day forward, Eleanor was no longer a clerk. She was the only living vessel of the most dangerous secret in the Union. And someone knew. Letters began arriving with no return address, covered in thin, elegant handwriting. "We see you. Memory is a fragile burden. You are holding the future hostage." One evening, as the city slept under a moonless sky, Eleanor walked home to find her front door slightly open. Her heart pounded as she stepped inside.
The air was cold. The curtains moved slowly, though the windows were shut. On her dining table lay an object. A patch from a Confederate uniform burned at the edges. And beneath it, the same strange symbol she had seen in the list. A circle with broken lines forming the image of ash in the wind. The Sons of Ash were not fiction. They were watching her. Days turned into months. The war intensified. Blood soaked fields from Virginia to Tennessee. Newspapers reported thousands of deaths. Lincoln worked tirelessly to preserve the Union. Yet behind the scenes, sabotage spread like invisible fire. Weapons shipments mysteriously vanished. Information leaked to the Confederacy. Generals made uncharacteristic mistakes. And Eleanor knew exactly why. The names in her mind appeared again and again in the headlines. Heroes by day, traitors by night. One name in particular would not leave her thoughts. Samuel K. Ridley. Industrialist, financier, contributor to the Union Army, considered a selfless patriot by the public, admired by Lincoln himself. But on the list, he was described as architect of division, the man funding chaos on both sides, manipulating the war for profit and power. A puppet master in silk clothing. Eleanor knew that if anyone could be exposed, the web would unravel. But how could a woman, invisible in a world dominated by men, bring down the most protected individuals in the nation? Then came the night everything changed. On April 14, 1865, the day Abraham Lincoln was shot, Eleanor was working late in her office when a sudden chill filled the room. She felt it before she heard anything. A presence behind her. A man's voice whispered, "History is about to break." She turned and saw a figure in a dark coat standing in the doorway, his features hidden by shadow. "You know who I am," he said. "No," she replied quietly, though her heart thundered. "You know my symbol," he corrected. She stared at the pin on his collar, the broken circle of ash. "You understand how fragile this nation truly is," he continued. "One death tonight will change the course of history, but what you hold in your mind could either destroy it completely or save it from an even darker future." "You are part of it?" she said. Not a question, a statement. "I am part of what came before the Sons of Ash, and what will come after them. I am a guardian of balance, and balance is about to collapse." "What do you want?" she asked, her voice unshaking in a way that surprised even herself. "I want you to write down every name you remember, every location, every plan, tonight. Give it to me before dawn." "And if I refuse?" "Then America will win this war, but lose its soul." Outside, distant shouting echoed through the streets. Bells began to ring. Chaos spread like wildfire. Abraham Lincoln had just died. The man looked at her one final time. He said, "The Union will survive without him, but not without truth." And he disappeared into the darkened corridor. That night, shaking hands moved across paper. Eleanor wrote for hours until her fingers were stained and her heart felt empty. She poured the poison from her mind onto the fragile pages of a ledger. Names, places, symbols, everything. At sunrise, she placed the pages inside an old leather satchel and walked to the steps of the Capitol building. The mysterious man stood there, waiting, as if time did not control him. He said, "You have done more tonight than any army." "Will it end the war?" she asked. "No," he answered, "but it will decide the peace." "And the sons of Ash?" "They will burn from their own fire." Within the next year, powerful men began to fall. Arrests were made without explanation. Fortunes were lost. Networks shattered. Some were tried in secret. Others simply vanished from history. No records, no memorials, no explanations. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed them. Years passed. The war became memory. The nation rebuilt itself with iron and industry. New cities rose from old wounds. The world called America a rising power. Eleanor Whitmore faded into a normal life. She married no one. She told her story to no one. She stored her notebooks in a locked iron chest beneath her floor. And yet, she never slept easily. Because sometimes, walking the streets of Washington late at night, she felt eyes watching. Not American, not foreign. Something older, something patient. Decades later, as an old woman, she finally returned to her childhood home one last time. Beneath the floor, the iron chest waited exactly where she had left it. Inside lay her journals, preserved by time. On the very last page, which she had never written, fresh ink waited for her. It read, "The war never ended. It only changed shape. And now it remembers you." Beneath the words was the familiar symbol, the circle of ash. That night, Eleanor Whitmore passed away peacefully in her sleep. When neighbors entered her home the next day, the iron chest was gone. So were the journals. So was the symbol. And to this day, somewhere beneath the foundations of Washington, D.C., hidden under marble and monuments, under power and politics, there exists a silent record of every betrayal, every hidden allegiance, every secret decision that truly shaped the United States of America. A record written not by generals, not by presidents, but by a woman the world never learned to see. And sometimes, when the city is silent and the monuments cast long shadows, people swear they hear the soft scratching of a pen beneath the ground, as if history itself is still being rewritten.